Hey, everybody, this is Brent from The Second Look. This morning I have the pleasure of speaking with Roderick Rascoe. Roderick, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
How you doing today?
Good, good.
Good.
You?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk. I've watched two short films that you've done. I'm really excited to get into those because I think they're very interesting pieces. And then kind of talk about your whole experience in general. But kind of want to start with some of the basics. Where where do you live and work at the moment?
Right now I'm in LA. I work at a company called Icon Group. Basically, they do like the localization and quality control for movies before they get released, and to different territories and in the world.
Okay. Did you go to film school?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to the University of Miami.
And how was that?
Um, it was interesting. So I was working full time there actually, and then I went to apply to grad school there, for film school. And so I was part-time doing film school while I was working full-time. So it was kind of a challenge, but um it was cool. Like I definitely appreciate a lot of stuff that a lot of knowledge that I gained from it. And uh a lot of hands-on knowledge. But yeah, overall like I appreciate it.
Yeah. Uh it's interesting how many ways people can experience and appreciate or not appreciate film school, right? Because
Yeah.
it's there's lots of pros and cons that
Yeah, I was just about to say that. There's pros and
yeah.
cons to it.
Okay, so what are you name some pros, like give me some cons.
I think cons are not as hands-on sometimes compared to maybe just like a person that just wants to film. So like I feel like there's a lot of people that can just do it themselves, and then
Mm,
when they do it themselves, um, they might run into a lot of hurdles and trying to figure it out, but they're still maybe creating in a certain way. And then I think the biggest one, honestly, is probably the business side of it. 'Cause it is depending on what you want to do with film. I think if you want to be in the film business or the industry, there's a lot of things I feel like that it wasn't really uh taught, or at least not a
yeah.
lot of classes that I felt like I had. Maybe I just didn't take them, but yeah, I feel like there's still like a business side of it to it, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's the part that isn't really have a lot of light shine on that part.
Yeah, yeah. I guess so my experience was I was in with a film studies track, so I
Mhm.
didn't have a lot of production. I mean, I took all the required courses and then even some additional, like, electives, but, and then I was in grad school also for film studies, and I ended up taking, like, a producing class,
Mhm.
which was great because, yeah, it's the first time when you get any sort of inkling about the business, like obtaining rights to material that you wanna adapt or something like and you're yeah, I think you're right. I think there's whole major side of it that they should be teaching because it's a film business, right? It's like
Yeah,
there's 2 halves to it, and if you can make a film, but then what do you do with it? And how do you
yeah,
get it out there?
exactly. Yeah,
So, okay. Um, and would you say you've learned more about that on your own after film school?
yeah, yeah. Because even I mean, it's I don't blame them either because uh, it's growing so fast and changing so fast with certain things. Like because I
Right.
graduated 2019, so I feel like at least with the people that taught me, they're certain things like streaming is going to be a little bit new to them, and especially with them, my professors, a lot of them worked in the industry, so like they may not really know too much about like smaller streaming services because they may never needed to know that stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
stuff like that, you kind of got to figure out, because it's not like you could just not go on Paramount. and be like, hey, I have this short. So like you gotta find like smaller services.
Hmm.
But yeah, so and I don't think it's that hard, but I do think that's something that maybe could be um maybe taught, do some research on it and use it as a course to kind of like build for people and maybe also telling them how to network a little better.
Yes, yes, that I totally agree. That's a, I mean, that's a social skill, you know, like that's not
Yeah.
even a that's not a textbook thing. That's like you just gotta get out there, practice. You gotta get in them in that mindset because it's that's a huge part of it as well. And you're right that the industry is changing so much even since you graduated
Mm.
that it would be extremely hard to keep up with that the changes in the business.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to start somewhere. You got to have to have like a core knowledge of like how it's supposed to go and just stay up with the trends and all that. Um, you're talking about like smaller streaming services. What's your experience with those? Have you ventured out?
Yeah, so I remember when I had finished my thesis, I don't remember what the service was, but basically it was this they were like a distributor and they would distribute my short onto different like streaming
Okay.
platforms and they would give me I guess a percentage of like whatever it made or whatever. And I really don't remember the name of it, but I remember it was like you could see the list of like places it was being like kind of trying to sold to. Um, and I remember I guess I wasn't satisfied with the service. It felt like I was kind of on the back burner,
Mm,
and I get it too. It's like you know, it's a short film. Like who's this guy? So I kind of understood that part, or that's what I assumed anyway. And
yeah.
so because when I reach out, sometimes it would be kind of like I didn't feel like I got the responses all the time. So at that point, I remember I was like, hey, could you just take this off your services and whatever places, and I'll just put it on YouTube. And I just felt like I could have made a mistake. I'm not sure, but I just felt like I had a better chance just putting it out myself. And
Mhm.
because I think some of the services, I think there was one, I forget what it was, but I think you had to pay for it to see it, like on whatever service it was. And in my head, I was like, no one's about to pay for this. Like, if there's so many places you could watch stuff for free. And
Right.
other streaming services like Tubi, and Tubi wasn't even as big as what it was now.
Mhm.
But I just remember that was free. And there was other things that were free, and I was just like, why would someone pay for? I was just like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be the best for it. Um, and so that was like, I think it was two services that I like reached out to. I remember I had a meeting with with them. Like I said, when I started seeing stuff, I was like, I wasn't really pleased with the service.
Mhm.
I just feel like I was put on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard that there are I don't know if this sounds like it might have happened with you, but I've heard of other smaller distributors that are, you know, not as reputable as they should, as you would want them to be. They might be, not as good. They're not as responsive, not as active. So just
Yeah,
because you've got a distributor doesn't mean it's gonna you haven't made it yet. Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
I just realized we didn't go all the way back. What was the thing that got you into filmmaking in the first place? When did it start?
Probably when I was a kid. I used to watch movies all the time with my dad, and that was like the thing I would do, watch movies, TV, and I would, as a kid, I kind of had more like ideas of like, oh, acting in it, just like mimicking what I saw or whatever.
Mhm.
And but I always looked at it like it was such a like it wasn't attainable. I was just like I looked at it like, oh, you have to be rich or famous to
Right.
even do this. Um, and then I remember going to college and film. was like an option for a major. And I remember thinking like, I don't know. Like because I just looked at it like, oh, I gotta go to school for to be a doctor or a lawyer or
Right.
something.
A real job. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for some reason in school cut, so in undergrad, I actually took communications, but I took media studies and I was going to actually go for film, but I think they was telling me I would stay a little later. And so I was like, but they were telling me this is like very similar. So I took that. And, but yeah, I just remember, I think after 2 years in college, I tried to take all my general courses first and then pick my major. And then I just was like, hey, I'm gonna just try it. And and then when I went to grad school, I think that's when I really saw that, oh, it's really possible to like create something. It may not be on certain platforms, but you can create it.
Mhm.
And so I remember when I was creating a little bit more and or it felt more professional to me.
Mm.
I was just like, oh, okay, like this is really attainable. Like this is
Yeah.
really something you could do. It's hard, but you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Who are your cinematic heroes?
It's funny, I don't know if I have many.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll say when I was younger, uh so like I'm African American and Korean. And so my father, I would watch movies a lot with him. He's the African American side, and I would watch a lot of black cinema. So growing up, it was probably like it's going to kind of sound funny, but like Ice Cube a little bit, because of like certain movies like Friday and just seeing, I guess, being able to see a face to it, like also. But then when I got a little older, I think Christopher Nolan was somebody I really liked his stories. Uh, I think Inception was when I first like really got to like see him.
Yeah.
Like I didn't watch a Memento.
Memento.
Uh, yeah, I didn't watch that, but Inception is what grabbed me. And then the Dark Knight series, and I was like, oh, these are really good. And probably Christopher Nolan and like Ice Cube, even though I don't feel like they're in the same category, but yeah, Ice Cube for some reason.
Well, no, yeah, different people, different careers, of course.
Yeah,
But Ice Cube's huge. Like he's a presence. He's an
yeah,
actor. He's a producer.
yeah,
Like I feel like he's done a lot just as a figure.
yeah,
He's not a director, and so it's harder to maybe to appreciate him on that level. But just as like a person who has kind of carved out a career for himself
yeah,
and really pushed a lot of things forward. I mean, yeah, Friday is a classic. I love that movie.
yeah,
Okay, so after grad school, now you've been making short films, I guess.
yeah.
What was the what was it? Okay, so you were in Miami, then you decided to move to LA.
No, so the way it happened was it was right at the end of 2019. So I graduated December in the fall, and then I'm from Maryland. I'm from Maryland, PG County, right next to DC. And so because I was working full time, I was like, I want to take a break. Like, I want to finally try to take some type of vacation.
Mm,
Little did I know, but we all was going to be taking a vacation. And so I went back home for a little bit, and then the pandemic happened. And so my plan was like, kind of like my plan to like even take a vacation. I just wanted to travel for a little bit,
hmm.
but that stopped.
Yeah.
And then But my plan was always to go to LA. But I remember I was talking to certain people that I knew, and I just remember thinking, oh, it's gonna die down. Like, it's just gonna like this is gonna pass. I'll wait it out. But yeah, that didn't really happen. And so I got stuck in Maryland for like I want to say like 2 years before I moved. And and then oh yeah, and so in Maryland, that's when I created some more shorts just because I wanted to just kind of not get rusty a little bit. I just want to move just creatively a little bit. And it wasn't like I didn't have like the same equipment I had like in film school or whatever, but I just wanted to do something. And
Yeah,
so I was just like, I just don't want to get too stagnant. So that's what my mindset was.
for sure. I think a lot of people a lot of creative people had to find something
Mhm.
like that to keep themselves busy, to yeah, to not go crazy, to stay limber, you know.
Yeah.
That's good. Um, okay, and then you finally moved to LA.
Yeah. And I want to say the end of 2001, and I came here in 2020, like November, I think, 2021, or beginning of 2022, somewhere around there.
Curious because I'm from LA, so like
Okay.
I'm like used to it. But how was it moving, like coming to it and adapting to it?
Just the city?
Yeah, like life in the
Yeah,
city and
it was
finding finding
a
work and
culture shock.
yeah.
So when I first got here, I want to say I was kind of just not happy with the environment. Um, I think like homelessness was everywhere, but I think what was really getting me was the fact that there's these studios and billboards of these movies that cost so much money to make, and but there's so many people who don't have a home, and so that was just like that was like the first day I remember thinking like this is weird, like
Yeah.
very ironic and kind of just sad, and I don't know if that kind of speaks to the country or anything. Probably does, but yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
Hmm.
And the traffic, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, other than that, that was I like it though. Besides like the sadness of it, but because it's always it feels like there's always something to do, and that's the cool thing about it. I think sometimes you can get easily caught up in like this rat race here, but if you can kind of like take a breath and ground yourself a little bit, like you can enjoy it and really take it in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of opportunity. You throw a rock, you're gonna hit somebody who's
Yeah.
connected in some way, who could help you in some way, or you might want to get to know. So networking is very easy to do in that regard. Like,
Mhm.
but it's also a lot of people, a lot of competition, a lot of
Mhm.
people trying to do the same thing. So
For
you
sure.
don't stand out as more. You have to work a little bit harder, maybe. So there's some give and take there as well. Okay, so let's talk about your films. I assume let me just based on uploads dates, Withered was produced first, right?
No, actually, Withered was made after.
Okay. All right.
Closest kin was my thesis from
Okay.
Miami.
Okay. Got it. Let's talk about that. I really liked it. I thought I was very intrigued by the tones you were working with.
Hmm.
The the acting was really good, especially the kid.
Mm.
So, okay, so this was your thesis film. How did that come about? And also curious for people getting into film school and like what is a thesis film? How does that process work? Do you have to pitch it? Do you have to get chosen? How does that work?
Yeah, so for me, or at least you have a committee that you pick, you decide who's in your committee. I think two faculty and then one person from outside the faculty. So you can make whatever you want.
Hmm.
And I had a script that is kind of, so the script actually had, or the idea for it was actually something way different. I actually wanted to make a story about kind of the idea of purgatory and just being in like this cycle of maybe like torture or something. But like if it was just this idea, and I want to see, I want to experiment with this idea of like a brother um saying his brother like get murdered, but because of his influences, if that's why it caused it. But
Mm,
um I always wanted to have my cast black. Um but I was wrestling with um creating this image of like crime and stuff like that. Even though I had this idea, but I was just like I just didn't want to create that image. So I was wrestling with that a lot. And so actually kind of randomly, I had a screenwriting class and I was like, I'm gonna just not do that idea, but that was in the back of my head, and I'm gonna just write something quick. And I actually like wrote this pretty quickly, like at least the skeleton of it, or most of it, the bulk. And I wrote it before class one day and just did it really quick, just so I could turn it into an assignment.
Mm.
And so we read it in class, and my professor he liked it, and he was like, "You should create this." And I was kind of shocked because I wrote it quick, so I was just like I didn't think it was really going. I was just like I'm just writing something. I had it on me for a while, and so I was able to kind of like really tweak it. And um, I was like, since I had it, I was like, oh, let me try to make it, and that's how it came out.
Okay.
And I didn't really have to pitch it, but I do have to like at the end of it, I do have to show it, and they have to approve it or not, and say if it's good enough and things like that.
And they give you a budget?
No, they don't give you. So where what they do at is, I think they give you like reimbursement for I think up to I want to say 5,000 or 4,000, something like that. But only for like I want to say like buying locations or food, things like that.
Hmm.
But not for like actors. Like you couldn't do that for actors. But yeah, some of my classmates, they because it's actually a private school, so but I was working there. So my budget wasn't the same as like some of my classmates. So yeah, some people their budgets was pretty high, like you can kind of tell. But
Yeah.
yeah, mine. But I was saving up because I knew that I would have to pay some money. So estimate, like I want to say for me, maybe it was like maybe 10K, like, but it was I spent it throughout like some months, so it didn't all hit me like 10. And then but then I got reimbursed for like I want to say 4 or 5, so really kind of like 5.
Okay.
But that's what I think it was, something like that.
Cool. I mean, yeah, it looks great, and it looks like there's some decent money behind it. How was the casting? So you're having to find a cast. How was that experience?
So it was actually pretty cool because like I said, I had the script on me for a while, so I actually wanted to film it earlier. And in my head, I was like, I'm gonna just film it quickly. But I'm glad I didn't do that because I probably would have rushed it. But I had already casted them earlier, and I worked with them already. So majority of the cast was like already ready, and so they knew the script, and so I think that's what helped too. So because they already had
Yeah.
like rehearsed this, so they're kind of pretty already like set.
Yeah.
The uh, the only one that was like kind of new was the main character, actually
Mm.
the lead, and he was good. He was good. I liked him. And yeah, I think I used Stage, I think, to find them. But then, because I knew them, they were able to help me find other people. Like at least Renee, I believe that's her name, Renee White, and she's the pharmacist.
Okay.
And she helped me find the kid because this was like the kid at her church that she
Mm.
was working at.
Hmm.
And and so yeah, that's kind of how it
Had he
worked.
acted before?
The kid, I think he did plays.
Okay.
But I really don't know if he did. I remember I went to one of his plays. Like they did like but it was a pretty small play where I think they did a reenactment of like the Trolls or something, like the movie Trolls. I remember I went and he like hit me like on the arm, but he was dressed up, so I didn't know who it was. I was like, who's this? And he was like, it's me, and I was like, oh, and so but yeah, so that's the first time I seen him in something. But I'm not sure if he was doing more. I'm assuming he did other
Yeah.
plays.
Yeah, he's either got some experience or
Hmm.
he's just a natural because he was really good. Okay. Well, what was the biggest hurdle on getting that made, and how did you overcome it?
Um, he got sick.
The lead?
Actually, the kid and the lead,
Okay.
both of them, at different times.
Okay. In the
So
middle of
that,
shooting.
yeah. So we had to like So what I was doing because I was working full time, we shot on weekends.
Hmm.
And so, we're setting up to shoot on certain weekends, and then we're like, no, we can't. And yeah, so we had to stop and just wait till they got
Okay.
better. Yeah, like I think the lead got like really sick, like with a cold, and then the kid got sick, and yeah, so just had to wait.
Okay. So it's not like you could wait. You could push it back to the
Hmm.
next weekend or
Yeah,
something.
it just changed everything the way we move. I mean, there's like besides like rushing, like time crunches, like trying to hurry up to film because of uh, they we don't have the. I remember at the library, I think we only had a certain amount of time. So just trying to like speed it up, doing things like that. But other than that, like it was just like I think the biggest hurdle was them getting sick. And then each day, I want to say like less and less crew was available. And
Mm.
so that became a thing. But I'll say like the biggest hurdle, but it was fun though, was the car, shooting in the car. Um, because what I did was I like rented a SUV to have the cast in it, but then I rented a U-Haul like trolley to
Okay.
put the car on the trolley, and so
Like
we
a process
filmed
train.
from yeah, and then it was super hot in the car because I was sitting in the car with them. I was in the back seat
Mm.
and just ducked down, and the sound was in the back seat with me, but we had to turn the AC off, and it's Miami, so it was hot, and it was fun, but it was that was a big challenge, but it was a
Yeah.
good one.
No, it it's rough. I mean, film production is like a can be a really physical job. You know, you're
Yeah,
outside, you're in the elements, you're lugging equipment around, you're doing it's like I think that's pretty it can be pretty shocking for people who've never,
hmm,
done it is like just how kind of manual labor is involved
yeah,
just to set up one shot.
yeah,
And then
for
you
sure.
shoot that for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like a learning experience. You probably got a lot. Was that your first kind of budgeted, like bigger production, maybe than
Yeah,
you're
yeah, I
used to?
want to say the rest were like I didn't have to like there was money put in, but I didn't like save up. I was like,
Hmm.
um, I'll put it on my credit card and I'll pay it off kind of thing. Um, but yeah, this was definitely the biggest, especially with the crew.
Yeah.
That was the biggest like I had with like help.
Hmm.
Um, and
And was the crew part of like film students like, in the
yeah,
same course?
so most of them were, some weren't, but yeah, so most of them were. Like I had a great producer. Her name was Kathleen, or is Kathleen,
Hmm.
and she helped me find people to
Mm.
help. Um, and I had another producer named Ron, so he will help too. And yeah, so they were able to help find people, help me do a lot of the things that needed to get done.
Logistical stuff, probably permits and things.
Yeah, yeah. So like the permits were like I think well we both handled it, but I think because like I had already tried to do it before, and so that was like we just and the way the school works is like I think or am I confusing? I think I might be confusing it with something else. I think I'm confusing it with insurance.
Mm.
But yeah, they helped me with the permits, and um I think the school has something too where we sign off and
Hmm.
they
Right.
something like that.
Okay. Did you do any festival submissions?
Yeah. So with that one, I entered it into a couple. I did one back in my hometown. I think it was called the DMV Festival, for DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Okay.
I don't remember where else I put it in. Maybe somewhere in LA, but it was like a smaller one.
Did you go to the screening at the DMV?
So this was during the pandemic. It was, well, I didn't because there was one online, and I think if I remember correctly, it was a while ago. I think when I hopped online, I thought I thought I was too late, and so I was just like, oh, I missed it, and I just didn't show it. But then she showed me the lady that there's a recording of it, and they did have it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think most of them were online.
Right. Makes sense.
But yeah, I didn't enter it into too many after that. I think I want to say I entered in into like, or I got into maybe three or four, but they get pricey. So I was just like, yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
have the funds to continue because I didn't get into everyone that I applied to. So I was just like, I'm taking a gamble on
Yeah.
even getting in,
Yeah.
and I was like, is this worth the money?
Yeah. Yeah. I think building something you learn probably after the first time or after you've already done it is to save some of your budget to the side for just that reason because yeah, if it's a 50, 60, 80, $100 just for the chance to get in,
Yeah.
it's really runs up, and you so you got to be choosy where you send it. Find the festivals that you have the best chance.
Mm.
Local
Yeah.
festivals, I think, like what you're talking about, like when they might have like a local filmmaker section, so you have
Hmm.
a much better chance of getting in there, being real strategic with that.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about Withered. A very, I mean, honestly, when I saw both of them, I'm like, how is this the same filmmaker? Because these are two
That's funny.
very different projects, and they're both great in those areas, but
Hmm.
just a very different thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about that one.
So whether it was when I was back home after I graduated and stuck in the pandemic,
Hmm.
I would play a lot of basketball during the time. And so on my way to go meet up with my friends, I would drive past this field
Mm.
that was like just open.
Yeah.
And I would just look at it and just be like, you could do something there.
Huh.
I was just, every time I'm driving past it, I'm thinking like, what could I do there? What could I do
Mm.
there? And I guess it just came to me like, whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do it. And I guess I start writing and it started coming to me. And I had my friend Chagall help me. He had the camera and he had uh I forget what it's called. The the lens that can go far, like
Telephoto.
telescopic or yeah. And so he had one that was pretty far and I was like, okay, we could make it work.
Hmm.
And I told him like my idea and we just got to it. We woke up really early and we went in this field. I knew Marcus. He's the lead in it. He's more Chagall's friend. Like he's really cool with him. They grew up together, and but I knew him too, and so we asked him to come on. And I think we were brainstorming one time during the pandemic, and I told him about the idea. And then Io, I believe is the young lady's name. I had found her, I think, on Backstage. And I had like one more person help me, my friend Jessica, and she helped me kind of just wrangle stuff.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah. So a much more bare bones crew,
yeah,
probably a
yeah,
much lower budget for sure.
yeah. I think the table I had, cause I knew I wanted to like flip it and all this stuff. So I went on Craigslist like to find like someone giving away free tables and stuff like that and just waiting. And I found somebody giving away like a good set and I was like, I
Yeah.
gotta get it.
No, that's great. It's a great tip for people. Like honestly, yard sales, garage sales,
Yeah.
Craigslist. You don't have to go to a rental house because
Mhm.
you have to return it. And if you want to do something to it, obviously
Yeah.
you can't. So that's great too. That's a great resource.
Yeah. You can find a lot from Craigslist.
Yeah.
People are always like moving or they just want to get rid of it. And yeah,
Well, you said you got up early. Like, is this a 1 day shoot?
this was one day. This was one
Mm,
day.
okay.
I want to say we started maybe around 7 or something. I think I was setting up. And I think Chagall was like working, and he was gonna take like a half day or something like that. And he met us around, I want to say like pretty early though, maybe 10 or something.
Mhm.
And then we started then, and we probably ended right at sunset.
Yeah, that's great. Nothing like knocking out a whole project in a single day. That's
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I had like small reshoots, but I was able to do them on my own. It was more like the table stuff, like flipping the table. Yeah, so I was able to do that on my own. But yeah, most of it was the that whole day.
Now, I'm curious, like with so because Withered is a much more abstract
Hmm.
feeling to it. Like, did you storyboard? Do you shot list for something like that? Do you or was it more get there and kind of feel it out?
So I think I didn't really did I storyboard? I want to say no, but I kind of knew everything I kind of wanted to do
Okay.
because, like I said, I kept driving past it, and
Yeah.
so I think the same thing with Close to Kin. I would ride my bike to work, and on my bike ride, I would always like just think. And so a lot of it was, and I think that's the reason I was even able to write it that quick because
Mm,
a lot of times when I'm riding my bike, I was kind of like organizing my thoughts
yeah.
there. So on those rides, I would kind of organize them there and just, no, but I did a little bit to kind of show Alicia Gall, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. But it was very minimal. It was probably just showing him like little screenshots of what I think I saw that
Uh-huh.
I was like, this is what I want. And
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very I don't know if it I don't know if I could say I'm good at it, but I do it a lot where I'm literally running the film in my head. Like I
Mhm.
okay, this shot and then we go to this shot and then like I think what you're saying too, like when you just kind of put it on repeat in your head,
Yeah.
you don't need something as concrete as a written out list unless you have a big crew or something that you need to
Yeah.
walk them through it. But for
Yeah.
yourself, you've got it all laid out.
Hmm.
That's good. What was the? I mean, I just really like the poeticism of it, the kind of the symbolism of it. In Willard, I think you did a really good job of kind of making it clear what's happening and like what. Because I think some of the sometimes abstract filmmakers like they go a little too far away from what you're trying to say,
Gotcha.
a
Yeah.
little too vague or ambiguous, whatever. But I think there's a sweet spot between not just, black and white explaining everything, but also not going so far that people don't know what's going on. I think you've
Yeah.
found a really good sweet spot there. So was that, I guess that was maybe a product also of just looping it in your head, thinking about it.
Yeah. I think also what probably helped was I was going through a breakup. So I think that helped like um how you can kind of get obsessed of the breakup and like repeating what's happening. And I want to say that's definitely helped inspired it. And so um uh I was thinking like how can I guess kind of just jot my feelings down in a sense because it's not like that happened, but it made me think like what could happen. And so and I don't know. I guess I didn't want it to. I guess in my head I didn't want it to make it as clear that it was from me. Like it wasn't as personal for
Yeah.
me. Um, and so maybe that kind of bled into the art a little bit of how I've kept it a little abstract, but then kept it a little
Yeah.
bit kind of clear. So maybe.
Yeah. That's, no, that's great. I mean, honestly, like using, I mean, any artist, right? Any musician, any poet, any painter, channeling yourself, your emotions, into your work. And then, yeah, I think it's also for some people, it's a lot easier to express when it's not you, when you're putting a layer of, artifice or fantasy or, poetry into it, that it's still motivated by the same, what's inside. And so it still feels genuine. And I when you say breakup, like I get it. Like I could see, I could feel it was a real genuine presentation.
Mm.
I mean, I've seen films where you can tell people are pretending to emote
Mm.
or to kind of forcing to capture something, but maybe they don't feel it themselves. It just seems disingenuous. But this really had, I think, some real kind of substance to it. So
Thank you.
I think you succeeded in that. It was really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So what that was a couple years ago. What are you working on these days?
So my last thing was writing a feature that I was trying to write, and I finished it. That was a while ago, and then I was trying to see how I could like try to where I could put this now, like
Okay.
um, and then but that was a while ago. I want to say that was like maybe a year ago, and then I started seeing like certain things, almost like the film festival run, where I was just like, I don't know if this is like
Yeah.
this is like worth it. At least for my pockets, feel like I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And and so now um I'm just trying to create again. I'm actually wanting to create with a friend, so and just brainstorm what could we do,
Mm,
and I guess get back on that horse.
yeah.
I think when I got out here, I kind of was a little discouraged, but then I think just like reflecting, like personally, just thinking how like I like it, and no matter what happens with it, it's like do it for yourself, and you know, then you'll be happy regardless because you're doing it for yourself. So
Right.
that's kind of how my POV is now.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's solid. Yeah. I was just gonna ask. Like, you moved to LA. Did you know anybody? Did you have to start over with like connections?
I knew my friend Sam. We went to grad school together. He actually filmed my thesis.
Okay.
He was the DP there, and I think that was about it. And then so I kind of started over, and then
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
uh, then I caught wind of my friend to come like from like elementary school was out
Huh.
here, so we linked up. But yeah, but mostly yeah, every I just had to start over
Yeah.
and meet people at work. I try to go network and stuff, things like that.
Okay. Well, you're very talented. You have a lot, I think, going for you. Just the two projects that I've seen, I think you do have a lot of potential. I highly recommend that you keep going, that you get back on the horse, like you said, and I want to see what you do next.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, Roderick, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Really interesting work.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for
like I
having
said,
me.
yeah, of course. Stay in touch. Send things my way.
Sure.
Anybody who's interested, we'll have links to your films on YouTube when the full video's out, so they can watch them themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, have a great rest of your day, Roderick.
You too.
All
Thanks so
right.
much, bro.
All right. See ya.
See you.